I gotta get comfortable. Oh. Edie's comfortable, and my seat's too tight.
No. This was a jeans night, if ever there was one.
So, Edie Falco, what have you gotten yourself into?
I couldn't begin to tell you. I don't know. I read the script and I really liked it, and now I'm doing this thing.
So this is network TV.
How about that?
You've done it before.
Well,
a little bit.
You mean the Menendez?
Yes.
Yeah. Other than that, I haven't really done a ton of network. I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole different world.
Does it feel a little different?
I don't know. Not really. I mean, we don't curse on this thing, and we all keep our clothes on, but. Other than that, you know, a good story is a good story, and I couldn't care less where it's being shown.
Let's talk about this story, because, I mean, is there anything you don't tackle? I look at Tommy. Here she is. She's like the nicest badass I think I've ever seen. Oops, I cursed. But she really is. She's a nice woman, moralistic, right? Has a standing, but yet is very complicated, has a lot of backstory, a lot going on. Why did you want to play her?
Well, you just described everybody I know and love, to be perfectly honest. And I wanted to play her for that reason, because she is complicated. You know, I played a lot of complicated people, and they are great fun. You know, it gives you a lot to grapple with. And Tommy's complicated, but she has a moral through line that I found tremendously appealing. Mm-hmm. I don't know, obviously I didn't always feel that way based on some of these other characters I've played, but she really has a very solid, strong sense of right and wrong, and it seems to, even when it's inconvenient or difficult to make happen, it seems to be what runs her life.
And what is in her life? She is a gay woman who is pretty on the line about it, but is someone who doesn't want to be in a relationship, seems to kind of back away from advances here. She's a mom who was absent from her child.
Is that bad?
How do you get around that and where you go?
Well, you know,
it's kind of prickly.
It is, but there are a lot of women who have children and who have a job that is time and energy consuming. And if you're lucky, as I am, that you have a job that you absolutely love, that you do the best you can in both of those circumstances. You spend a lot of time beating yourself up, sure that you're doing both jobs poorly or not as well as someone else might. And I've recently discovered, like in the last couple of years, everybody feels this way. Everybody thinks they're not good enough at whatever they have given themselves to do. But I can say for sure to my children now, and when they grow up and start asking me, that I really am doing the best I can. But I know for myself, I could not be an actress. It's the thing that keeps me breathing. Honestly, has brought me joy more than anything else as a thing to do, as like a pastime, and certainly as a career, brought me more joy than anything else, and I couldn't not do it. And my kids would not want to know me if that was not a part of my life. I'm not sure they want to know me anyway right now, but.
But Tommy made a choice. Here she was, she decided for, I mean, when you get to see, there's a whole lot more than what the trailer just explained to you, because there's a whole backstory that hits on every hot topic known to mankind. I'm not sure quite how the writers are going to keep this breakneck pace, but please ensure us that they will.
Well, I imagine, never having worked in a real police precinct, that it must be something like that. I mean, there's 600 things going on at any given time, and she's got her personal life. So everybody who works in an environment like that has got some version of that anyway. We, had a season of 12 episodes, and there were tons of issues that were brought up, and some that kind of wove from one episode to another, and we do our best to tackle them as best we can in the time allotted.
List a few for us. What can folks out in the audience expect?
Well, I can also tell you, turn on your, the news. And so that's what we're dealing with, the stuff that we deal with in real life. Like some of it is specific to LA, mudslides, fires, things that don't, we don't talk about much in New York. But some of it is nationwide, maybe worldwide, like sex trafficking, adoptions.
Coronavirus.
So we didn't get there. We didn't do coronavirus. We didn't do a virus, right? We better get picked up. We got to do a whole virus thing. But yeah, a million other topics. I mean, every time I'd read a new script, I was like, oh, right, there's that chaos.
Input into the script and how she approaches this as a woman, what Tommy does differently in the role of a leader and a pioneering leader.
I have great respect for and trust in the writers in general, because it's something I don't know how to do. And I am so impressed by someone who starts with nothing and creates a whole something. And I work with writers that I trust. So for the most part, I feel it's been made clear to me that I can have as much input as I want. But it turns out I don't want a whole lot. I like reading the script. If there's something that I think, I don't know if she would do this, or I think she might say this, I've been given tremendous amount of power in that regard. But as far as nothing has felt wrong yet.
Does she, are there things that she does differently, Tommy, in this role as a woman? She is a pioneer. There were only the first police chief that was a woman in this country of a major city, or in a major city, was in 1985 in Portland, Oregon. The second came 10 years later.
Wow.
After she failed on the job. 17 months she was in and she was run out.
Because she did a bad job? Or
they said because she did a bad job. It's questionable. It's questionable.
Yeah.
Then in Atlanta, you had your second. And that was 1995,
right.
10 years later. So, and how would you say she handles this? Because she knows that history.
Yeah.
And she feels the pressure of what it must be. She said it right there in the trailer.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure I agree that she feels the pressure. I think she knows the statistics. But I think another thing she knows that I guess I've sort of decided, and it's I think backed up by the writing, is that she was a cop in New York. Her father was a cop in New York. She's from that community. It's everything she's known since she was small. And she knows that she is the right person for this job. She knows she can do it. She knows she can do it probably better than a lot of people. She's more than competent. And she also knows, in my imagination, that people aren't going to like that because it's different. And different is scary for a lot of people. But I think also it's not her problem. It's their problem. She's going to go there and she's going to do her job. And people are going to say things about it. If it's not relevant, you just move past it. They have to deal with the fact that there's a woman in charge. But she doesn't have to deal with it any differently. She just has to do her job.
Was it eye-opening for you, researching? What kind of research did you do? I'm from LA, so, yeah. And by the way, speaking of New York cops transferred to Los Angeles, serendipity is a funny thing because I, of course, work with Ricky Kleeman, who is married to Bill Bratton, who was the commissioner here. And
of course.
Went to be police chief of Los Angeles. And I said, hey, I'm interviewing Edie Falco about this new series.
Oh, no.
And I said, what would Bill ask her? What would you ask her?
Oh,
she said, well, the first thing is, I think I've seen like a clip and I've seen that belt, and according to her, LAPD requirement is that you wear the fully equipped belt, which weighs something like 20 pounds.
As a chief?
As a chief, and she said that it nearly took Bill out.
No.
So Bill is asking, it's kind of heavy. Is she gonna wear it?
I wear the belt. She wears the belt when she's in the dress blues, like for ceremonies and stuff like that. And the belt is very heavy.
It is very.
I am always wearing my gun and my badge.
Right, with the baton and the handcuffs and all of that stuff, she said. That's what she told me.
That can't be. I've seen Ray Kelly and these guys walking. They're not carrying no belts.
So you did your research.
No, I'm doing it right now. But I also think, if I'm not mistaken, that the writers and like the showrunner were speaking. I thought they said, somebody out here help me, because I know some of you guys are out here. Didn't he speak to Bill Bratton? The son of Bill Bratton?
Ooh. He is. Yeah, Bill Bratton's son is actually on your team.
Okay. See? I know. You know what? Whatever the prop person hands me, I put on, and I don't ask a lot of questions. Maybe that's my first problem.
What kind of prep research did you do? I mean, LA is very interesting. I'm from South Central Los Angeles, so the history of the police chief in Los Angeles has been very checkered with regard to many different communities in Los Angeles. I think it's obvious in the first episode the challenges that a police chief would have. What did you find interesting as Edie Falco in your prep? I'm sorry, did I put you on the spot?
It's a funny question. I mean, funny in that it's not very funny. But I read an interview with Anthony Hopkins recently about the two popes.
Yes.
Which I just was blown away by. He just gets
that.
better and better. He's just one of the most beautiful, subtle actors. Anyway, this interview is about, someone said, so what kind of prep, what kind of research did you do to play the Pope, you know, a real person who existed? And he said, I didn't do any research. He said, I know what it's like to be a person, and I was there opposite the other actor, and we worked out and I almost cried. I broke down with gratitude, because I don't know about research. I don't know how to do research. I've tried. I've been kind of pushed into it by overzealous producers. And I found myself standing opposite someone who really had the job that I'm supposed to be doing. I don't find it helpful. I find it confusing. It involves a different part of my brain than the part of me that acts.
Some actors swear by it.
I know. And
don't they call that like a method of some kind?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. God bless them. I don't know. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis becomes the other person, you know, is referred to by the character's name. Everybody works in different ways. And there were years ago where I would have made up a whole story about my prep right now, but I'm over it.
Aw. Go girl. No apologies.
It is what it is. I don't know. I work in a different way, whatever that way is.
Yeah, and can you identify, how does Edie Falco work?
Well, it's about what is written. What does she say? What did the other characters say about her? Who are the people in her life? Who's her daughter, her granddaughter, her co-workers? What's the environment that she's working in? These are all the things that I take in the first days of working on a new job. What am I wearing? You know, what is the vibe like with the other characters? You know, as these actors are discovering their characters, I'm doing the same, and the perfect arrangement here is that Tommy is new to this city,
yes,
as I am new to the show. So I had that working in my advantage, that she didn't know any of these people, she doesn't know the offices, and I thought, well, that's, to use your word, serendipitous.
Serendipitous.
So that's kind of what it is. You're in the moment, and it's a lot like playing when you're a little kid, when you're playing like, you know, cowboys and Indians. Like, nobody's saying like, so what would a cowboy really, you're just playing. You're deep in, your imagination takes over, and you're living the life of a person with different life circumstances.
And Tommy's life circumstances is she has a black ex-husband, she has a biracial daughter in a bad marriage, non-communicative, but it's the drama of the in-law that you are is really interesting how you play it. It's like, okay, I'm not that mother-in-law. I was most interested in how, because I'm a new mother-in-law, very new.
That's right.
And I had an excellent mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was perfect.
Wow, you don't hear that a lot.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
So,
well, she, as we find her, she's not only a new mother-in-law, she's kind of a new mother. Because she had been, I don't know, estranged, but certainly is not particularly close with her daughter, who's now grown. So she finds herself with a grown daughter, the grown daughter's husband, and their child. And she's suddenly thrown into this role, and can she actually be that person to these people, or is she just a peer at this point, you know? And so she's got to find her way. What will her daughter be interested in participating in, which is a big part of it. So yeah, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of complications. But you know, the more I'm out and about in the world, it's very much like a lot of people just juggling a lot of crazy circumstances and juggling them as best you can.
Can you relate to her?
Not really. I don't know. I mean, I have a really very, you know, whatever. I'm a single mom with 2 kids, and I have a crazy work schedule. But I don't know. I'm very happy. I'm like a happy person. I don't know, and I'm able to kind of roll with things better than maybe she is harder on herself than I am now, because I've spent a lot more time in therapy than she has. So I don't know. We're different in that way. I think I might be a little more stable. I don't think I've ever had that word used that close to my name, but I think it might actually be true.
So you're playing more stable characters as opposed to more moralistic characters, because back in the day you played some real challenged people.
Yeah, I know. I think, I mean, I never really know what it is that appeals to me about a character. I know that I'm reading the script and you know, my heart rate will go up and I'm reading the next page voraciously. And that's when I know, oh yeah, I guess this is the next thing I'm gonna do. But I couldn't say it's because of this, this, and this. But I do, you know, I will not get into this, I promise, but we're in a very interesting time in our country. And I took today pretty hard. I had not anticipated feeling as dark as I feel today. We're off center as a people, maybe as a species, I don't know. And it is really shaking me to my core. So the idea that I can portray a person who is still listening to that very, very quiet, accurate thing that's inside each of us and letting that guide her decisions, I don't know. I, for one, would love a person like that in charge, where you feel like ultimately the part of them that's making decisions is way bigger than their ideas about what they think is right and wrong.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's it.
Well, I know a lot of people out there absolutely loved the demons that you were carrying in some of your other characters, like Carmela, Soprano, and Nurse Jackie. You obviously seem to know how to pick a hit. I mean, so, because that's 2 major back-to-back hits that nobody really saw coming at a time where you saw it coming.
No, not me either. I mean, I never know. I'm the last person to know. I don't have my finger on the pulse of anything, to be honest with you. All I know is I read a script and I am personally moved by it, or I can see value in following this trajectory. I think it excites me to no end that perhaps there are people who agree with that judgment, but I never know that going in. I really am just listening to my own idea about what next will challenge me or excite me. And it's beyond, again, so it's this gratitude thing that I'm living in.
You talk a lot about gratitude.
But it's for real. I mean, I know it's also like exercises you do in workbooks and stuff, but somehow over the years, I have really developed a sense of that lives and breathes inside of me. I mean, I look around at the way other people live, and even the way I lived in my earlier life, certainly my first many years in the city before I started working, there are very difficult lives being lived out there, and I get to do this thing for a living that I absolutely, it just fulfills me to no end. I am filled with gratitude every day about it, and it's not something I have to work out. And I have gratitude about that I have gratitude. No kidding. Really, it carries you through all your ills, as far as I'm concerned.
Is that due to your constant or daily meditation?
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. But I've done a lot of stuff over the years. I'm also I'm sober, so I've been in 12-step meetings. Have had a big part of my just learning how to live. I've been to every kind of new church, and I went to Marianne Williamson's Course in Miracles lectures for years. She was really one of my first, teachers in that regard. And I found Buddhism 20 plus years ago, and a particular teacher, and I've stayed with that, and it never ceases to resonate with me. But it's some amalgamation of all of those things, I think. You get tired of feeling crappy, so you really do look for a way out. And when you realize, okay, so it's not alcohol, and it's not drugs, and it's not other ways of sort of checking out, and this whole other system kicks in that's really very powerful and very reliable, and I've been living it for a while. So.
Oftentimes people, again, serendipity has a funny way of like bringing things to you in your life. Like there might be people in this audience who are like where you were. It's like, what's that helpful gift of knowing, hey, I'm in that spot because clearly I'm functional, right? Clearly I can go about my day and do what I need to do and entertain folk. But like, what's that aha moment for you to break through whatever it is?
Yeah, it's different for everybody.
For you?
For me, well, you mean back in the day?
Or whenever, I mean, because it's a constant, right?
Yes, it is. It is a constant, but there is a level below which I no longer go. I don't get the horrible places anymore. I really am I'm pretty stable insofar as how I run my life, what kind of parent I am, I hope what kind of person I am. There are fluctuations within that, but it doesn't feel scary or dangerous like it used to. It feels like a very workable, manageable way of doing my life these days. And it's not that way for everybody. It didn't used to be that way for me.
Where did it come from?
I don't know, all of this stuff, all the different kinds of searching. I would love to think that it's not like, I started to work more consistently so I got happy. I think it was the other way around. I think I kind of got my shit together and kind of got my head on straight, and things start to answer that, The world shows up for you in a different way.
Different way. Are there certain things you aren't ready to tackle or aren't
in regard to work, you mean?
In regard to work?
Nope.
Have that dream part that you always wanted to play?
Nope. I mean, of the classics and stuff, there are people who really do, let's say, Shakespeare very, very well and have a particular passion for it, and I'm so thrilled to watch them do that, but that's not me. Which is not to say if someone offered me Shakespeare tomorrow and I was interested, I wouldn't do it. I reserve the right to change my mind every 5 seconds. But I'm always thrilled when people, I forget if it was Sopranos or something, John Sayles wrote me a letter many years ago. I had been a huge fan of his forever. And he said, I know you were in Sopranos. I'm embarrassed to say I've never seen it, but I watched this little film that you did a million years ago right after college, and I thought you might be perfect for this role that I did in this movie. And the excitement around the fact that he had no preconceptions of what I could or couldn't do. He saw this little teeny thing I did after college. The idea that people will still show up with a new incarnation, for another thing for me to step into that I've never done before, is tremendously exciting to me.
Yeah, you like meeting people that way too, don't you?
I do. I definitely do.
You don't want them to know a thing about you.
And just you tell me who to become. That's my job.
That is the secret. That is the secret. So I want to throw it out because I know that there are tons of questions out there from this audience. And I was a Soprano fan, but I know I'm not, or a Nurse Jackie fan, the way the folks out here are. And so if I can have, I just think the much more interesting questions sometimes come back from them.
I hear you.
So I want to start it off with you guys, and if I could, can we go there right now? I think they want to bring out the questions.
Yeah, I think they're bringing them up.
They're bringing the questions out.
Well, look at this.
Fantastic. Awesome. Okay. And we can go back to you and me.
Sure.
So if you had to compare, how did I know this? Carmela Soprano, Nurse Jackie, and Tommy.
Oh, my Lord.
What would you say?
I would
similarities,
say I don't want
the
that
differences.
Job. Katie, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. What are their similarities?
And different. Oh, goodness. They all kind of have their feet on the ground in some way. They're all sort of pig-headed. I mean, I'm sure there are similarities because I can't help but put a little bit of myself in all those things. But the differences are, I think, both Carmela and Jackie are in some state of denial. I mean, a very solid, workable one. But they're living their day-to-day lives just ignoring some very big pieces of their life. And there really is no way around that. Otherwise, they would have to tackle it. The fact that her husband is a murderer, and the fact that that little thing, and the fact that Jackie is an addict. They kind of have to put all that stuff aside. And one of the things that was so appealing to me about Tommy is she's showing up for it. You know, she's braver about facing all that stuff. Thus far, in one season, you know, from what I can see from the writing, is she really is. She's pretty solidly showing up for the things that are difficult.
She's steady.
Yeah, she's steady and she's reliable, even to herself, I think.
Yeah, not falling apart. So, of the 3 TV female characters, which is closest to the real you?
Oh my goodness, Tommy probably. Yeah, I mean, depends on what chapter of my life we're talking about, but right now, I think it would be Tommy. I think.
So here you are, you hadn't become this actress, someone asks. What would you have liked to have become?
If I hadn't become an actress, I thought I would be a therapist, actually. I'm not entirely sure that I am not going to eventually become a therapist. It's profoundly interesting to me. It has really changed my life immeasurably, and I find it endlessly fascinating, the way our minds work, so I don't know. That occurred to me. I also like to sew, like I sew little things, so maybe I'd be a seamstress. I don't know.
You talked about gratitude, and I sense that it stems from the fact that you think like all of this perhaps may not have been meant for you, or that, you know, access to it in the least wasn't like available to you. I mean, you were kind of a middle-class kid working, coming from a family. Yeah.
For a million years, I grew up as a little nerdy, strange kid on Long Island who just wanted to do this acting thing. And I came to New York, and I was told, like, I remember, gosh, one of my earliest go-sees, I think I went to a general audition for a soap opera 1,000 years ago. And I brought my picture in, and the person looked at me and looked at me and said, well, we'll put this aside. Occasionally, we actually do use your type. And
What type?
That's as far as the conversation went. I've been wondering ever since what that actually was referring to. But I got all kinds of weird comments from people over the years who didn't quite know what to do with me, because I guess I didn't fit into any easily recognizable category. But there were many, many years where I wondered just how crazy an idea this was, to think that I could support myself this way. Years and years of waking up early on a Sunday to have to set up a restaurant for the Sunday brunch. Just, I could not, I would say like a little mantra to myself, it won't always be like this, it won't always be like this. And I still can't believe that I was right, that it really, all of it has happened, is happening, continues to happen in a way ever so much more glorious than my little ideas of what my life would be like. You know, I'm not from a showbiz family. I mean, I don't know how any of this happened. It's just, but it's sort of preposterous to me. But I mean, it's just gratitude, just tremendous gratitude. I just love it. I love this.
Yeah, you went to CUNY Purchase?
Yeah.
I said it right? SUNY.
State University.
Yeah.
Well, CUNY is City University.
I'm such a Californian. Oh my God.
It's all good.
Yeah, but no, I sit back, you got that start on Broadway.
Well, little theaters. Teeny theaters.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean by Broadway.
Yeah, well, no.
That's not right?
No. Yeah, that's California.
Theater.
Yeah.
Theater.
I started in theater, community theater, and stuff like that, and then I would do little teeny theaters and little hole-in-the-wall theaters in New York, and then doing Broadway was a very big deal, my first Broadway show. And then you find out it really is, it's very different for a lot of reasons. It's a big It's a lot. It's about money. It's about selling tickets. You get sort of thrown into this whole machine with Broadway. So it's a very different feeling.
But you enjoyed it, and you had great success.
I loved it. Totally loved it. I mean, the plays are good. They're interesting. You get great actors, and I believe someone's arrived at your door.
Yes, I think more questions. I'm not done with these. But no, I
loved working on Broadway. I loved it, but it's different from when a bunch of your friends get together to put on a play. It's a very different feeling.
And that Broadway, the Broadway play that made it for you was a pivotal time for you when The Sopranos came along. And you chose to do it, and this is on a whim, because you wanted to pay off your student loan.
Yeah. I remember, I'm still dear. I was doing a play called Sideman. It started as a reading in a basement. I filled in for Marissa Tomei, who was supposed to do it, and they said she dropped out at the last minute. Will you come in and just read this part? And so I was in the basement of some place for my dear friend Warren Light. We did the reading, and then it got a little bit of interest. The reading became a bigger thing, and then it became a production, then it became off-Broadway, then it went to out-of-town workshop, and then Broadway, and then London, and then Broadway again. It was this total Cinderella story. But right when, after years and years of creating this character and this play from nothing, all of us, like a bunch of little nerdy kids, like I said, a bunch of friends get together, put on a play, it got an offer of a Broadway run just as I got offered The Sopranos. And it was an awful chapter in my life. And to this day, my friend Warren says, I still can't believe you took that TV show instead of continuing with this. But as luck would have it, I did Sopranos, and the show was still running on Broadway, and the woman who was playing the character that I played had to leave the show because she got pregnant. So I ended up doing it on Broadway. It all works out.
It's serendipity, right?
Yep.
So why is Tommy closest to the real you? Back to that question.
I think because she is not as messed up, maybe, as some of these other characters, that she's pretty steady, that she's a little bit obnoxious about her belief in justice, and to the point where, I don't know, I think she tries really hard to be a good person. And I think I do share that with her. Even in ways that it may not work out or it's harder than it appears, I think that is what she really wants.
Yeah, this is a pretty big ensemble cast.
Yeah.
What's that like? I mean, it's a little different from...
No, it's not.
No?
It's about similar. And so, Sopranos was monstrously large, but this one feels about right. There's usually, 6 or 7 people that are there kind of all the time, and then we have people who come in, a little more often, then we have day players. But the main, ensemble that makes up the main players of the precinct are people that I can't help it, but I very quickly fall in love with them. It's just something that happens. And I got to see each of their audition tapes, so I was like, yes, 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 yes. And now they're all part of this work life, and a lot of them haven't had a ton of experience in television, so they have an excitement about it that you can't fake. And they're not over it. They're not like, yeah, well, I did this because I needed to, whatever, or
pay off my student loan.
I totally saw that. They may have, but they're not advertising that fact. But there's something lovely about being people who really, you can tell that the gratitude that they feel about being a part of a television show, on a network show, and I think we have a really lovely work environment. It's lovely to show up there, and people are nice to each other. I think we got something good in that regard.
Back to The Sopranos.
Go on.
Will you watch the new Soprano movie?
Oh, for sure. I remember a conversation with Mr. Jim Gandolfini when he said, yeah, I'm going to be a dad. When it first happened, he had this deer in the headlights look on his face, he couldn't believe it was happening. He was terrified and excited, and then this baby is born, and we get to meet him, and he's on set, and I was sitting a couple of seats down from Michael Gandolfini, his son, when he got his first haircut. Jim was sitting in the chair and Michael was sitting in his lap. And Michael was, he was crying, he was very upset. And Jim was holding him like this, trying to hold him as the hair cutter person was doing his hair. And Jim was like dripping in sweat. He was like, but laughing our heads off. And now, this, I believe he's 19, this 19-year-old boy is playing Jim in the movie. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. It's very, very deeply meaningful to me to see it. So of course I will see it, yes.
Yeah, the loss of such a prominent fixture in your life.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
I think it hasn't really, I haven't accepted that as real. I think it may take longer than it should probably, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very, beyond being a great actor, just a really lovely man.
Yeah, and a good friend to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So the rest of the cast, you guys spend much time together? You stay in touch?
One of my best friends in the world is Aida Turturro. She is sort of the godmother to my kids, and she played Janice Soprano. She played Tony's sister. And she and I are very close. Some of the crew people from Sopranos went on to Nurse Jackie and then have come on to this show.
No kidding.
Oh, it couldn't be better. Like my first day on set of this thing, I saw people who worked on Sopranos. It's just, I don't know. I get attached to people. I can't.
Was that so? That was by design.
Some of it was, but I mean, people. It's very hard to hold down a crew person because there's work everywhere and they're going all over the place. And I was so grateful when a bunch of Nurse Jackie people were willing to come on over to this thing with me. But I wasn't sure any Sopranos people were available, but when they heard that this was happening, they jumped on, and here we all are together again. I'm just so giddily happy about it.
So what's kept you grounded, Edie? I mean, like 2 mega hits, well, 1 huge supernova hit, another steady as a rock, like work on Broadway, work in, short run series, movies. I mean, in this realm, oh, I thought somebody was coming.
Oh, no, nobody's there, not that I know
but
of.
in this realm, in this day and age, I mean, does it come from that sense of like knowing how hard it is and knowing that it can all go away?
Well, that's the part of it, is that I think I've been blessed by the fact that I waitressed for 1 million years. That, I mean, I know what it's like to not work. I know what it's like to be really busted broke. I know what it's like to feel unstable in your life and in your sense of yourself. And I also know that I made it through that. And, I certainly hope this doesn't happen, but that if this whole thing could fall apart tomorrow, because there's so much about it that I have no control over. And that you learn, this Buddhist principle of non-attachment. You know what I mean? That I'm so grateful for what's in my life right now, but the happiness is here, and I think it's here. It might even be here permanently. So that, I mean, whatever comes and goes, it's great if it can, sort of augment my happiness. But when it disappears, I don't know that the happiness disappears too. I'll always find something that I love to do. I spent many years doing little plays with friends in weird spaces, and the truth is, if this, success falls apart, I'll go back to that. I was, I was happy as I could be during those times when I had to run out for a waitressing shift. So.
Yeah, as I understand it, you're doing little plays right now.
Any chance I get, I did
written
a play
by
a couple
little
years
people.
ago. I don't know what that means. Little plays written by little people? Oh, that's another thing I do when I can. 52nd Street Project, I'm sure some people out here must know what that is. It's they're plays written by usually inner city kids in the area of 52nd Street on the west side. They write these plays based on their lives, and then adult actors perform them. And it's some of the best stuff I've ever seen or been a part of in the city.
But that can't be easy. I mean,
oh, it's not, but it's so much fun. It's very rarely are you prepared by the time you put this play up. So you're just barely getting the right lines, and you're kind of making up blocking that wasn't quite worked out before, but It's funny and delightful, and this little kid, like an 11-year-old, is sitting in a little desk in the corner with a little light over them, watching their play being performed.
By Edie Falco.
No, well, they don't know who I am.
Well, they don't know some of your co-stars. I mean, it's pretty prestigious.
No, Frances McDormand has done stuff over there. I mean, all kinds of really great actors. But these kids don't know from nothing. They just say, oh my God, my play. And they're so adorable. They're just so darling watching this. And what must that do for a little kid's ego? For a little kid's sense of themselves to see that kind of thing happen. It's a great organization.
Yeah, I think about you keeping it in check, but maybe the dialogue isn't quite right, or maybe the action isn't quite realistic. You probably had some practice in dealing with some adults who didn't find that that line either. But yeah, how do you set yourself back and put them out there first and foremost?
The kids?
The kids, and some of those other adults.
I'm not sure I follow you.
Well, I'm sure not every script that you've read.
By these kids?
No.
Oh, in general?
Just in general.
Yeah. Well, you know, I had no as a complete sentence. So, I mean, I've turned down a lot of stuff over the years. Like, if I'm not moved by it, I tend not to get involved. But yes, even on, you know, anything I'm working on, if the dialogue doesn't feel right, I'll bring it up, and I'll either argue for my choice, or I'll say, oh, I understand why it needs to be this way.
Have you ever said no to something you wish you hadn't?
No.
So everything good you've played?
I mean, I really wanted to do the movie Pollock that ended up being done by Marcia Gay Harden. I think she got a Oscar nomination or something for that, and I really had thought I was going to get
with
that.
With Ed Harris, right?
With Ed Harris.
Oof.
And I was really bummed about that. But other than that, I don't know. I can't think of anything that I really wanted.
Why did she get it over you, Edie?
Well, you know what? Marcia Gay Harden is really good. You know what? She's damn good. I mean, she's one of my all-time favorites. So, and I am not that gracious all the time, by the way. I mean, I got a couple of people, I'm like, are you kidding me? You gave that to her? So anyway, Marcia Gay Harden is not one of those people. I just really think she's great. But I was still seriously bummed that I didn't get it.
Yeah, I hear you can be pretty critical on the craft, which is why you don't watch a lot of TV or movies.
It's true. I mean, but it's true. I am very critical. I mean, I don't say it to the people.
Okay,
I'll just say it to my friends behind their backs, which I hear is very mature. But I have very strong feelings about this thing that I do and that I love. And it also makes it that much more joyful when I see something that I think is really great. Really, it can carry me for weeks after a show. I wake up thinking about it. I'm still so excited by this particular art form.
So what is your favorite TV show?
You know
I'm putting you on the spot.
No, I don't know.
Movie?
Right now, I'm watching The Outsiders or The Outsider, the HBO thing, the Stephen King thing. That Ben Mendelsohn, Australian guy, is really, 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 really good, like otherworldly good. Like I'm watching him like, I don't know, it feels like watching a surgeon. Like, what is he? That's incredible. So he, like a whole new, I don't know, he's just, when I see Meryl Streep do a certain role or something, I'm literally watching them like, I'm still so thrilled by it when I think it's done beautifully.
Is it the chemistry of it, or?
Sometimes it is. It's the way like someone like Ben Mendelsohn can work opposite someone who might not even be as good as him, and he's still able to make you believe in that relationship.
The dance.
Something's happening out there that's making noise. What's that? Oh, somebody's phone.
Yeah.
Turn it off!
Yeah. So, what are you hoping folks here will get from Tommy? I mean, what's the takeaway for you?
Gosh,
because it is all about Tommy tonight.
That's right. I hope they enjoy it. Honestly, I mean, I hope it's something that they feel a little bit better after having seen it than before. I hope they believe these characters really believe in the things that they say they do. And want them to imagine a world where the person in charge has your back. Just saying.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Reminder, folks, Tommy premieres tomorrow night at 10 p.m. on CBS. So, folks, give it up for the incredible Edie Falco.
Thank you.